Thank you for tuning in to the Helium Radio Network. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
We're live, the Mind Book Fair, powered by Life Improvement Radio, Neil Haley Show. And Eric, again, it goes so fast.
It does. It flies by.
I can't believe it. It just goes so fast. Our last guest of the 2019. 2020 will have to be special for everything. And, and it's just like, that's what I'm thinking already, 2020. Especially we're getting close. I guess just because it's a cool year, 2020. What are you planning on, Eric, in 2020?
Well, I'm going to be a father for the first time, so it's going to be a busy year for me.
That's perfect for your kid to be a 2020. I tell you, that's a date you won't forget, the year for sure. I have to always remember my kids' birth dates. I have to kind of go back around and figure out different ways of remembering all of them. But looking at specifically enough that date, year, that's easy. You won't forget that one.
No, well, it'll be 1/2 of 2020, so January 2nd, 2020. So it'll be a pretty easy date to remember. Okay,
so I'm excited to welcome the program author, and he is going to be really interesting, Oscar Casares. He is the author of Where We Come From. Oscar, thanks for calling. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So is this your first time in Miami, or you've been here before?
I passed through, I believe it was 2010 for my second book, and but yeah, I was looking forward to coming back.
It's the greatest thing, but I think one of the things you like is to connect with your readers, right? That have read your work and get to talk to them.
Absolutely, and this is just such a great gathering of. Just the fair itself, but also the people that turn out are just so engaged and care about books, and so it's wonderful to be here.
Oscar, how is this book different than your other book?
Well, I think the scope is a lot broader than the other two stories, which were. They're set in the same community of Brownsville, Texas, on the U.S.-Mexico border, Texas-Mexico border. But this one's a little bit broader in the sense that I think it brings in themes that are not as limited to that specific world. I think there are things that people are wrestling with just about everywhere. The book deals with a character named Nina, who's a retired school teacher, and she's retired because she had to come home and take care of her elderly mother. And what this means is she's at home 24/7 and doesn't have really a connection with the outside world, except for her maid, who comes across the international bridge from Matamoros, Mexico, once a week to clean the house, and so she forms a bond with this woman. And one day the maid asks her for a favor, and the favor involves allowing the maid's daughter, grown daughter, and granddaughter to come stay at the house for a night. And the reason they want to stay at the house is that somebody's going to come pick them up and smuggle them past the last Border Patrol checkpoint and take them to the north. Nina is very conflicted about this. I mean, she obviously realizes the legal implications of it. She's pretty apolitical in many ways, but also realizes the risk, to her freedom, to who's going to take care of her mother. A lot of ways that this could go really wrong for her. She reasons that she'll do it this one time, and that she can sort of turn away after that. And she might not have done it for anyone besides this woman that she had grown close to. What she isn't counting on is that once the traffickers get there to pick up the daughter and granddaughter, they're going to want to come back again and again, and bring loads of what they call loads of immigrants to hide in this on this property. And so this this is sort of where the story starts off. The story also involves Nina's godson, who's coming to spend part of the summer with her. And so now Nina is faced with, on one hand, making sure the authorities don't find out about this, these people that she's housing, sheltering, but also not allowing her godson to find out this secret that she has going on, literally in her backyard, because they're staying in a little rental property just outside the back door. And so the story talks, in large part, it talks about being from a place, trying to get back to that place, what it means to be sort of connected to a part of the world. I think it also talks about, obviously in a very direct way, the question of immigration and what our responsibility may be with it. If anything, I think I wanted to try to take the politics out of this argument, and it is really an argument, a very polarizing discussion. And I wanted to set up a scenario where a character would have to wrestle with this, and it wouldn't be an easy choice to make.
Yeah, I mean, this is powerful. This is absolutely powerful because she didn't want to put herself in this position, but then she felt like she had to do this because of how she was helping people, even though it was the wrong thing to do, to worry about herself getting turned in.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was, the wrong thing, legally speaking, but morally speaking, the absolute right thing she felt to do. And then it just escalated from that point, and she found herself, much deeper than she would ever have imagined. But this idea of how do we take care of one another? What are our obligations? Do we have an obligation to take care of others? Are we unto ourselves? And basically, we've this nation of immigrants, have we just basically closed the door? And we're all from somewhere else, right? So where does this leave her, and what does she do? And I think it's also, the godson arrives, and he's coming from a fairly affluent neighborhood in Houston, and he's heard about this immigration thing that's going on, but he doesn't. There's not a face that he can put to it, and suddenly there is a face, and there are real people that he's seeing how it's affecting. And I think what you end up seeing are pretty much every character in the story beginning to evolve in one way or another, and really wrestling with that idea of where they come from, but also what obligation, if any, they may have.
Oh, Eric! Wow, this is a powerful story, isn't it, Eric?
Absolutely
is powerful. But this one really is.
I know, exactly. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, how did you come up with the concept for this? Is it like a personal story or something that happened, and it was just going on the news and it kind of sparked a fire? How did you come up with the concept?
Well, from afar, it seems like I might have been just reading the newspaper and thought, well, why not write about this? It's on the news every day. But yeah. In fact, I had grown up with nephews and nieces who lived away from the area that I grew up in Brownsville, and they would come down every summer, and they were just utterly, culture shock, just sort of washed over them every time they came down. And in the meantime, they're being told that they are from this place because this is where their parents are from, and this is where their grandparents live, and all their extended family is from this one region. And so in this way, I was, I started off more with the idea of immigration, but a different sort of immigration. The immigration that happens, when a family arrives in this country, and they begin to assimilate, right? They adopt the language, they put their kids through school, it takes a couple of generations, and the kids finally, they go through college, and then they begin to move away. And they move away physically, but they also move away culturally. And they become, to a large degree, sort of cultural immigrants. How do they make their way back, or do they make their way back? And so I knew that this boy, Orle, who's 12 years old, was going to come spend part of the summer with his godmother, who's also his great aunt, and that he was going to see something that just was going to rock his world, is going to turn it inside out. And I didn't know what that was, but as he got closer and closer, I knew that she was hiding something, and then I sort of understood the circumstances of her life, how limited it was, and I just sort of followed the trail, and the thing that sort of appeared to be the most obvious in her case was that she had come into conflict with this immigration crisis. So I mean, I've known people who have been in that predicament, but the story itself was not drawn from any personal experience.
Wow. What's the feedback been like? Because I'm sure, like you just said, you could obviously flip open the newspaper and seems like you could get some inspiration from there, but have you had a lot of feedback from the book? Any kind of, specific reviews that you kind of touch people's hearts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wrote an op-ed piece right in the middle of our editing for this, and it sort of became the nonfiction piece for the novel. And I tell people, if you want to see what the novel is, sort of read this nonfiction piece. It'll give you it'll be sort of a primer for it. But the Washington Post called me and asked me if I was interested in writing something about the family separations that were taking place on the border. And of course, because it's a newspaper, they wanted the response immediately. And I was like, oh, God, I don't know what I'm going to write. And then I emailed them the next day with an idea. And the idea was that I just remembered that they had come out with this, these recordings of these children just crying and crying and crying when they were being separated from their parents. So I sent the editor a note, and all the note said was, what language are these children crying in? And
Wow.
She said, write that up. And so in essence, when you strip it down to that sort of very human, visceral level of we're all humans, and can you see that? Can you not turn away from that? So the response has been overwhelming. I mean, people who I think are on, no pun intended, on the fence about it, end up with a bit more clarity on the issue. I think they struggle with it because it does take this away from the politics, and then there's the other story of what's going on with Nina taking care of her mother and just the particulars of her situation, and so all these things sort of come to a head in this novel. At the same time as the boy is arriving there's another boy who's arriving at the house, a boy who has been part of a load of immigrants and has found his way back to the house. And this is a boy who had been smuggled across. He'd come from Mexico. And so you have these two boys who are essentially in a foreign land. I mean, the immigrant boy who's coming in from Mexico, and hiding. And then you've got the boy coming in from Houston who's, a cultural immigrant. The sort of safe space they have to find, and the way they communicate, I think, also puts a different spin on the story.
Absolutely.
All right. What is your hope? I guess we kind of talked about it. What do you want your readers to get most out of this book?
I think just what I mentioned, just to be able to step away from the story. I mean, we tend to hear the most horrific things about the stories. I mean, whether it's just the statistics or the apprehensions or drownings, or, I mean, it's one thing after another, and I think it's very easy to sort of feel overwhelmed by it, and to just want to turn it off because it feels insurmountable. I'd like them to sit with the story. I'd like them to sort of look beyond the politics, and the issue itself. I will say, as someone who lives with it. I mean, this is my working and writing about the border. Is that the biggest mistake in either direction is to think of this as a black and white type of situation. It is incredibly complicated, and no one who I think, regardless of which side they fall on, ought to feel like they have the answer, because there are just so many ways of looking at the situation, and I think even people who are against the wall and pro-immigration realize all the limitations of that, and how difficult that is. That there isn't a perfect way of solving all this, but that we ultimately do have to engage with the situation. We
definitely do. I appreciate you coming on. Best place we can find information on you and learn more about you. Where can we go?
You can go to my website, OscarCasares.com, OscarCasares.com.
Awesome. Appreciate the time. Thanks for calling, and enjoy the rest of the Books Festival.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Helium Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and should not be construed in any way as advice from Helium Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, and editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the express written consent of Helium Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.